Salutations, everybody. Hey, do you find that you're losing a lot in Demon Slayer? Does your win record look abysmal? Well, worry not, my friend, because I'm going to teach you how to win your matches in 3 simple steps. All that being said, let's rock, baby. So the first thing that's always going to decide the tempo of a match is the first neutral. Now, the first neutral is by far the most important one because, like I said, it controls the tempo and it sets the momentum. If you win the first neutral, the momentum is on your side, and more often than not, you're not going to lose that first round. But how do you win the first neutral? Well, that comes down to your character. Ultimately, there are probably 3 character types in Demon Slayer. We have rushdown characters like Tanjiro, Rengoku, Hinokami Tanjiro, Sabito, and the list is slightly longer. We have defensive characters who have great counterplay to most of the mechanics in the game, such as Zenitsu, Shinobu, and sometimes Makomo. And then there's the third archetype of just overall balanced characters who have solid tools, which is pretty much every other character I didn't name. I bring up the 3 different character archetypes because depending on the character, your conditions for winning neutral change drastically. For a character like Tanjiro, due to the fact that his rushdown is so strong and that he has attacks such as Water Wheel and Waterfall Basin that apply incredible block pressure and do good damage on chip, him doing that and getting away without getting hit, he just won neutral because now he has a life lead. With that life lead, he controls the tempo of the fight. He no longer has to play the game aggressively because the opponent has to approach. If the time were to run out, Tanjiro would win off chip damage alone. Meanwhile, a character like Shinobu or Zenitsu excel at punishing players for trying to dash in or trying to do something silly. Like, let's say that they get push blocked and they want to keep pressing buttons. Shinobu can blow that up with something like Swift Thrust, while Zenitsu can blow it up with either Air Spin or one of his Thunderclaps. And lastly, there's the balanced archetype of character who, for the most part, they play a pretty honest neutral. They can win it off throwing out a throw, they can win it off just sheer block pressure, or they can win it very defensively. They have a lot of options as balanced characters. It's important to understand how you want to play and which archetype your character falls under, because if you're not able to win that first neutral, like I said earlier, more often than not, you're not going to win the round. But that leads into the second point. Now, if you happen to lose the first neutral, there is a way to come back in the game. Assuming your opponent doesn't play defensively, it's a lot easier because you just get to play the game as normal. Either your opponent does something silly, you get to punish them and eventually take back over the round. Now, if they decide to play defensively, let's say they're doing a lot of jumping and air dashing, worry not. If you're playing one of the rushdown characters, what you can do is you can dash in, and once they throw out that air dash in the air, just go ahead and block and use any of your techniques. Most of the time, the technique will track, and because there's no air blocking in this game, you'll get a punish. For the defensive characters, it's not that different. In fact, Zenitsu and Shinobu excel even more than most of the rushdown characters for punishing these air dodges. As for the balanced characters, I don't play them too much. However, I like to believe that they have their own options. I'm sure someone could tell me about their potential options when they're playing from behind. The third thing that's most important is resource management. This kind of plays into both neutral and playing from behind, because if you don't have the proper resources, you're never going to win the fight. If you decide to waste all your meter on one combo to do 30% of their health, that's not a good combo. It's not optimal at all because now you have no meter, you lose out on your opportunity to get counterattacks in, and most importantly, if you use your assist, if you take a hit, you're now forced to hold that combo. But there are workarounds to poor meter management, and they typically come within the mid-game of the fight. This happens to be boost mode. One thing that a lot of people may or may not have noticed is when you go into boost mode, you're getting your full meter back. Not only are you getting your full meter back, you're getting your assist back. So let's say you put yourself in a really bad situation, you pop boost mode, that's your reset button. That just reset you guys to another neutral. And not only that, you're now into a position where you're doing more damage and you have a refreshed meter. All in all, it's important to understand your resources. If you don't have anything in the Omi gauge, then you don't want to be blowing all your meter because you don't have a way to get that back. You don't want to be throwing out your assist on the first time you're hit because you don't know how much the combo is going to do. You want to take time to scout out your opponent. If you're fighting against a Zenitsu player, if they're not doing an optimal combo and they're only hitting you for about 30% of your health, there's no need to sub that until the final parts of the round, in which you will have no choice. But on the flip side, if you're playing against that same Zenitsu, you now have the resource of assist and your meter because you're saving it properly. Obviously, this applies to all characters. It just so happened that Zenitsu was the example I gave. And before I go, I want to touch one more time on neutral, because it's very important to know that neutral is such a broad thing in this game, because you don't have to win neutral by getting the first hit. If you get the first hit and they substitute it, you just won neutral, I promise you. Because here's the thing, now they don't have that resource, and that means that you can play aggressive, and odds are you should play aggressive, because if you give them time to recharge, you're putting yourself in a position where you get another hit and you don't get any damage from it. Meanwhile, any resources you're using to win neutral are being wasted because you're not able to capitalize on the damage you could get if, say, you decided to rush down your opponent when they had a lack of resource. I'm telling y'all, resource management is super important. I feel like there's a lot of stuff I can touch on. Tell you what, here's what I'll do. Ask any questions you have down below. I will answer them as specifically as possible, because fun facts about comments, I do tend to read and reply to all of them, unless it's some wild off the wall stuff like because I don't know how to say to all that. And hey, if you're new here, why not consider subscribing? I mean, you made it all the way to the end of the video. I must be doing something right. All that being said, cut.